Welcome everyone back to BayTran's weekly webinar series, Connecting Our Region. I'm Teresa Rodriguez, President of BayTran, and I'm joined again with Carl Joyner, our chairman. And today we're visiting with Mayor Jason Tabor from the city of Santa Fe. Welcome, Mayor.
Welcome. Thank you all for having me.
Absolutely. Mayor Tabor's in his first term, and he is a Santa Fe high school graduate, so local born, right?
Ma'am.
Yep. So Mayor, we've been hosting these webinars throughout the year, or since spring, really, when the shutdowns happened. And our goal is to just keep our community connected, let them know what's going on, around the region, from the mayors. We've had council members, county officials, congressional and state officials. So trying to keep the big picture, but connect the dots as well, and know what's going on in the individual communities that make up our region. So Carl, I'm going to turn it over to you to make a couple of remarks.
Yeah, so Mayor, thanks again for being here today. And we're all really trying to work together through BayTran to make sure that our communities are represented. And today, we definitely want to hear about all that's going on in Santa Fe, but also what we as BayTran can do to help you in Austin this year, and what we need to do to all work together to make things happen for us. So anyway, again, I'll turn it over to you. And again, thanks for being here today.
I really appreciate it. I guess first, I'll just do a little background about myself. My name is Jason Tabor. Like you said, I'm a Santa Fe graduate. A couple fun facts. I'm the youngest ever elected mayor in Galveston County history, and most likely Brazoria and Harris County as well. I was elected at 38 years old. I have a beautiful wife. Her name's Kyra. I have my youngest daughter is Tara. She's 14. I have a 16-year-old named Alexis. My stepson is 20. His name is Damien. He's probably serving in the U.S. Army as Army Ranger. I'm a businessman. I started my company when I was 19 years old. Went full-time self-employed at the age of 20. So I've hit my 20-year mark being in business, 3 companies, as well as I have all this extra time to be mayor, because it pays so well being mayor at $0 like most of us. So, but I truly enjoy it. My wife, she's a nurse and she's also a realtor. So she's actually taken a step back from nursing to run the company for me, so I can have more of an active role being mayor. So, of course, when I came into office, we were on the heels of Hurricane Harvey. I was elected in 2018, so we had Hurricane Harvey in 2017. And the worst thing that could ever happen, I had to deal with the school shooting. It happened on May 18th. I was sworn in on May 24th. So I pretty much had to take office on May 18th, and I've been working ever since. And of course, now we have COVID. So I feel like I'm the only city that's ever had to have this many tragedies all in a 3-year term. I've hit them all. I know when COVID came, everybody said, "What are you worried about?" I said, "Well, I've already dealt with already since the shooting and everything else I've dealt with. COVID really is, what else can go wrong, right?" It's like, because there's just so many things going here in Santa Fe. So I'm truly blessed though, and like I said, it's been crazy. I've met the president, to meeting a lot of important people. I work with Greg Abbott's office a lot because we're still running our resiliency center, because we have a lot of healing to do for Santa Fe, not just from the shooting, but with COVID as well as Hurricane Harvey. And we're one of the largest veteran populations in the county. So it's been definitely a lot of work. So general state of the city of all, I have to say Santa Fe is actually doing great. We have our motto, it's called Santa Fe Strong, and we definitely hold it close to our hearts. So I'm very proud of my community. We make up about 14,000 people. I think our last projection was about 13,800. We're about 17 square miles here. And the past, like I talked about 3 years, we have the 3 tragedies. Our city staff is in a state of transition. We just have a new city manager. He took on in February, and of course, COVID hit all at the same time. I blame him for it. I told him he brought COVID to my city. That's the reason why we're having to deal with so much. He came from White Sands Missile Range. He's a military man, 26-year veteran. So it's definitely a different approach for city leadership, especially have a city manager who's a military man. But he's doing a great job, and I believe he has the way we need to go forward with the city. He's got a lot of projections going out. He's a hard worker. and he brings in something new to our city. Our last city manager was with us for around 23 years. So he was, like I said, he retired at the age of 70, and now we have somebody younger who's very motivated and really wants to start the city growth. Let's see, COVID impacts of Santa Fe. So the infection rate, I have some numbers here. Our total cases were 604 cases of COVID. We have 556 recovered, 42 active, and only 6 deaths. And let's see. Most significant permanent closure. The hardest part for me was I had a great deal with this really nice restaurant coming to town. He was breaking ground in March, and COVID happened, so he put the entire project on hold. And I hope maybe one day, he sent me an email saying he's not going to come to Santa Fe, even though he bought the land. We're looking forward to having a really large Mexican restaurant come to town. And then I need those restaurants because I believe they're a catalyst to move us forward. We're having bigger businesses. Because, being Santa Fe, we're so small. We are like 2 grocery stores, a few dollar stores, and we don't have a large city like some of you guys have, all these Home Depots and Walmarts. We don't have the infrastructure here for it. But overall, so we took an active approach for COVID with our businesses. We met with our grocery stores, all of our Dollar Generals, and even all our gas stations. We brought them all into a meeting right when COVID was first starting, and we implemented safety measures in place early, helped them out, worked with them as much as possible, showed them how to properly clean. Our goal was not to shut any business down. Our goal was to work with the businesses to keep them open. Even the bars, when the governor shut down the bars, we took an active approach and helped them actually stay open. They found a loophole in the system, so they were able to, you could take drinks to go. Well, it just so happened that they went and got permission from their neighbors, which was right next door to the bar, to allow people to have picnic tables and maybe sit up in the picnic table and have a beer. They could purchase the beer at the bar and walk next door to drink their beer. And was able to keep some of the businesses that most bars were just shut down completely and weren't able to recover. We lost a lot of hairdressers that had a tough time, but our city gave about $186,000 in grants to help out with those businesses that couldn't get PPP loans. So about 3 months into COVID, we gave out quite a bit of money to keep businesses open. Let's see, I guess it's economic part of sales tax laws. Actually, I'm going to beat the back. I hate to brag on us, but we're actually ahead for the year. So this year is actually our largest sales tax ever in the history of Santa Fe. We've almost hit last year's numbers up till November, so I have a whole another month to go. So we'll probably be 8% up for the year versus being down. So I know most cities took a very, very large hit on sales tax. We don't have a large tourism here, and we don't have any hotels in town, so we're highly reliable. We rely on our grocery stores and our large lumber stores in town. And with the even with COVID, though, the housing market's been on an uptick in all Galveston, Harris County, pretty much everything in Southeast Texas. So luckily, our lumber stores are doing very well. So the people did a lot of projects and were building houses like crazy, and so they buy a lot of lumber from Santa Fe. Even though we don't build as many houses here, our lumber store serves all over the state of Texas and even outside of Texas. So he's doing a lot of it. It's all a very large uptick in it. Current infrastructure project updates. Of all things, when I first got in office, I applied for Hurricane Harvey relief money, and we actually received our first ever grant with Hurricane Harvey. It doesn't sound like much, but for a city of my size, I got almost $1.4 million for Hurricane Harvey, and we're actually about to break ground in January. So I got $350,000 for water and sewer, and we got almost $1.4 million for roads, drainage, and fixing some ditches, culverts, stuff like that. We're going to fix about 6 city blocks, and we're going to run over a mile of water line. And part of the upgrades we're going to do is we're adding like fire hydrants and make it a lot safer. And we're going to increase our flow to 62% increase. And so those houses will actually not flood anymore, even with the Hurricane Harvey type scenario. I had a lady come in, we had a town hall meeting. She actually cried tears of joy, and she was just so happy to finally have some relief and feel like that she was being heard. And her house flooded in Harvey, but once I showed her on the project and how it's going to help her directly, she was very, very excited. But she even saw that the problem with the flooding wasn't because the water just had nowhere to go. There was a bottleneck at one of the drainage lines going underneath our railroad tracks, and so we're able to fix that now. And I think with the new improvements with engineered design, with increased flow, we're going to protect a lot of homes. We also have 2 more projects, our 2 hot spots in town. I was able to cut a ditch between 2 subdivisions, and we had to work to put a kind of like a siphon drain. If anybody's ever had to suck gas out of a car, like through a water hose, we're putting a ditch at an angle underground. It hooks into the main drainage ditch. So it's a 5-foot wide culvert. And when the water of the main ditch is flowing, it actually pulls a siphon on the water, and it'll suck the water out to subdivisions. Then to the right next door to it on another road, we're going to tear the road out. We're putting an underground ditch in, and it's going to look like a bathtub drain. It's going to have grates on top that's going to suck the water down, and it's going to fix about 32 businesses. It's going to help over 200 residents. It's going to help our fire department. It's going to help our postal office and some undeveloped land as well. So with those projects right there cost about $600,000, and we got very creative with it, and we're going to be able to save all of our hotspots in town. So I think we should be able to help about 2,000 people total by the time we're done with these projects. It's going to cost a little over $2 million total if you add it all up. And I'm hoping with this next round of grants that are coming up in February, we're applying for another grant for about $6 million to fix the south side of town. Upcoming future infrastructure projects, I kind of talked about that. Like I said, our city is very small right now, but we are 17 square miles. We have the second most available land in Galveston County. Hitchcock is being number 1, and people want to come to Santa Fe. I'm working right now with a developer. He has 1,000 acres, and another developer has 500 acres. So the first developer is about 2,600 homes. The second one's about 1,200 homes. So it's going to put a pretty good strain on our city. So we're in the growing pains right now of trying to figure out how we're going to do that. We're going to put a new water plant, a new sewer plant in. We're going to add water towers, and just infrastructure costs alone, we're in the $172 to $200 million range. So we're working with those developers right now to understand pits, turfs, and muds. Of course, Santa Fe is so small, so we never had those growing pains. I'm sure some of you people watching are probably laughing and going, "Get ready, Mayor, you're about to have some fun with that," because we never had that before. So right now we're working with pits, puds, and muds and turfs. And so I'm learning, having a crash course in those. And we're talking with our attorneys and working to make sure we do it right the first time, so we don't have any of the woes coming in. We adopted Atlas 14 for our drainage criteria. So anything that comes in is going to have the highest drainage standards possible to make sure that we don't flood anybody else in the future. I'm proud of the growth. I'm excited for the growth. I look forward to having the infrastructure growth, and I'm looking forward to having the land being developed in some nice houses, because Santa Fe is kind of a very big bedroom community. We are still rural, but at the same time, for the newer generations, my biggest challenge I had coming in, and I talked to my city manager and talked to my council, was we have all these amazing people that graduate. I'm a Santa Fe graduate myself, but they leave, they go off to college, and when they come back home, there's nowhere for them to live. There's no affordable housing here. Usually everybody owns a lot of land, and if you've seen the price of land lately, it's very expensive. So they can't afford to be here. So they go to other communities and plant their roots there, then their kids go to their school. So I want our kids to come back to Santa Fe so that their kids can go to Santa Fe like my kids do, be a proud graduate, have my kids graduate Santa Fe, and keep the tradition going. Talk about infrastructure projects. I've pretty much hit all of those. Do you have any questions so far?
Hey, Mayor, why don't you touch on the Grand Parkway, how that touches Santa Fe?
Oh, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. So Grand Parkway is to the west of us. It actually falls right outside of our city limits going into Alvin. But with this new development with that 1,000 acres, actually, Bay Area Boulevard is coming straight through Santa Fe. It was actually in the original plans. I never thought Bay Area Boulevard even thought about Santa Fe, or anybody knew where Santa Fe was. But we adopted the master thoroughfare plan. And so that's actually what help we're going to need from BayTran and working forward is, so we're going to be bringing Bay Area Boulevard all the way down. It's going to touch Highway 6. And it's one of our main roads. So right now we have 646 coming in. But with all that growth in the other part of town that's undeveloped right now, we're going to see Bay Area Boulevard come all the way through. So we're at the figure out how to get some easements and bring in that nice highway coming in. So you'll have Bay Area Boulevard in the middle. You'll have 646 to the right, and you'll have Grand Parkway to the left. So who would have thought our area was going to grow so fast, but it's exploding right now. It's nice, but at the same time, it's challenging because I feel like we're always under construction from 146 to 45. So Highway 6 hasn't really been touched much, except for when you go towards Alvin, Brazoria County. They're having the growing pains there, so they're working on some bridges and lower areas to kind of get them above water in case it ever floods, because that is a main hurricane evacuation route. But I'm proud. I love the fact that Barrier Boulevard is finally going to connect to Highway 6. It's always been there in the plans. Somebody who was very smart, I guess, years ago knew it would. But of course, when you ask my constituents, they're like, there's no way Barrier Boulevard's coming. And I even was told by councilman, not in my lifetime. And then when this large developer comes to town, it's going to be real. I see it happen in the next 5 to 6 years. Barrier Boulevard will connect to Highway 6. And so I think a lot of people will have a faster route getting in up there north side and get to Houston a lot quicker. But right now it takes about 35 minutes to get there, but if you start having Barrier Boulevard, to me, it's a nice hurricane route to have, because you need to have evacuation routes, and you also need to have growth. And it's going to bring new businesses to our town, as well as it's going to help expand everybody who's around our area.
Yeah, see, one of our top projects is the completion of the Grand Parkway. So Section A isn't even in the planning, or not planning, but in the 10-year plan. So that's one of the things we want to get it there. And then we want B and C, all of it, to get started, because, we're talking 10 years down the road on this stuff. And if we don't get it done, it's longer than that. And as you grow, you're going to need the Grand Parkway for people to get out of your city.
I totally agree. And plus, what the Grand Parkway does is it brings people to our area, because they're going to exit Highway 6, like to go to Galveston. And so what we're going to do is they're going to come traveling through our town, and they're going to spend money. So either way, the Grand Parkway is going to help everybody. Plus, they move product around too, to get material brought in, to help grow businesses, for infrastructure. You want to use these major highways. It's faster, cheaper, and better. And so Santa Fe fully supports the Grand Parkway. We know it's necessary. I use Grand Parkway when I go to north side of town, because it's available. And I wish it was down closer south. That way I wouldn't have to go up 646, cut across 45, have to make my way around, because it is very convenient to have a parkway. And I know we were fighting with legislation before, I think a year ago, correct?
Yeah.
Trying to get funding for it, and they were trying to take it off the funding. And we need to keep fighting for that funding to make sure, because it's much needed, whether it's a hurricane, even just to move around our city and our state. It's going to bring a lot of business to our area. Anybody who's near it or even touches close to the Grand Parkway is going to grow. Yeah. And it's going to bring much needed revenues in, because as we all know, we're all fighting for the same tax dollars. We all get less money every year. We have to find ways to be creative, to keep making more money, to keep our cities functioning properly.
Now, before we got online and opened it up to our audience, we were talking about how the residents right now don't quite understand the connection between the investment in infrastructure and how we pay for it, and the need to raise funds for it. How do you address that? And how in the future, as we're talking about projects like the Grand Parkway that need to get moving on the books, how do you approach your community and impress upon them that need for the infrastructure investment?
It's two-way street. It's very hard, because your older population, as we all know, do not like change no matter what, even if it's something simple. So we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. Our biggest is educating people, especially like with the new growth coming in. When we showed Barrier Boulevard coming in, they all said, well, I don't want that. And what we explained to them is, okay, well, do you want your taxes to go up or down? They say, well, I want them to go down. I said, well, unfortunately, with cities and the cost to run a city is mostly labor. And so our labor goes up every single year, no matter, even if we keep the same number of employees. And I said, you guys want more services and you want more infrastructure. You want to have water and sewer available. And those are commodities right now. Those are hard resources that we have to pay for somehow. And once I started explaining them how much it costs just to run one water pipe or put one road in, they start noticing. Of course, they always say, well, I've been paying taxes for 30 years and I never had that before. But once we show them that, you're paying a lot of, just to the city alone, we break that piece off alone, they're able to, I think, have a better view on it. And actually, for the most part, about 85% so far have been very positive with the growth. Because as they told me, they said, I'd rather see a large subdivision come in with a lot of houses than, let's say, it goes unincorporated and they bring in manufactured homes. And then you won't get infrastructure development, because they'll come and break them into 1 acre lots. You'll start popping a bunch of wells and septics in the ground. And right now, if nobody knows about subsidence, Santa Fe knows that over 50 years, our entire city has gone down 2 feet. lot of the state has gone down because the more water, oil, anything you pull out, minerals you pull out of the ground, you're losing that. You're just lowering the entire table. And so we take science seriously. So my goal is to get us off of water and sewer, water wells in the ground, and go more to open ditch type water, like the Gulf Coast Water Authority. And so I told them the much needed to bring infrastructure, like say to my north side of town. We're going to allow this 1,000 acres to be developed, but part of the 1,000 acre development is I can be able to put water and sewer to 3,000 acres, because they're going to do the hard work of the infrastructure, and then I'm going to be able to bring in extra. I'm going to make sure water and sewer lines are big enough to handle the future growth for 20 years from now, not just what today's going to be. But like I said, education is the biggest challenge we have, and we're holding town hall meetings about once a month, and we also go Facebook Live every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. And our community looks forward to that. We used to have the Blackboard, and the problem we have with Blackboard and getting the information out there is nobody updated their information. We're spending lots of money every year to have those in place. And so we piggybacked off the schools. So I found out, well, who always updates their phone numbers and their email addresses? Well, if you have a child in school, you have to, because when you register every year, you have to do that. Or if you're with a doctor's office, well, we don't have access to doctor's offices, but I have a really nice school in our town. So we talk to them, and they help us out with getting notifications out as well. So we're able to push out a lot of information on our public as fast as possible. We use social media, emails, phone calls, signage, as well as using the school. And we're able to hit a pretty large sample of our population all at one time. And so I think the best is to get the word out there and work with them as much as possible, educate them.
We talked about the Grand Parkway, and obviously mega projects like that do impact several of the cities that it runs through when we're talking about a corridor like that. But you're surrounded by several cities, and so presumably you work closely with those cities. Are there projects happening in the surrounding communities that you're particularly interested in?
Oh yes, right to the north of us, you have Dickinson, League City. League City is probably the largest in our Galveston County. They are booming nonstop. So they have a large project. They're about to widen 517 going in. So you'll have 570 as our north side main thoroughfare before you hit 45. And all of our connecting from Santa Fe has to cross 517. So to me, we have to make sure we work with them. Plus you have a bayou that separates us as well. So we're working with Dickinson and League City. I even sit on the Dickinson Watershed Committee with Hank Dugan from League City, and we're the chair and vice chair of that, just to make sure we understand drainage, understand the impacts, also understand the wetlands as well, because we have a lot of moving parts here on the Gulf Coast, as anybody knows. You have lots of protected water sources as well as wetlands, and we're all pretty much in a flood zone. So we're working with them closely. Of course, that's state right away, but the states take their time doing things, but they do it right when they do build it. It just seems like forever. I think since I was a kid, like 45's been under construction the entire time. My kids were asking, "Hey Dad, when are they ever gonna finish 45?" I said, "Probably not, because it's been like this since I was your age. I don't think that changes." You start adding 99 as well, and 99 is gonna be a large project. That's gonna take many, many years to fully complete. And then once they complete it, you're gonna have a section where they're gonna start doing improvements as well, just because that's just part of it. But I think 517 is one of the main ones for us, and 646. But most of 646 is done. That connects from Santa Fe Highway 6 all the way to 146. So I get all the way to that area, and people use it. And I noticed since 45's been under construction, we have a lot of people coming down Highway 6 now on the way to Galveston. They use us as a way through to get to Galveston.
Makes sense. Now, if there was one project that you see a need for in your community that is not on the books yet, but I mean, talking about the growth that you're expecting in the next, 10 years, what is that must do project that is not already, looking good for funding or development?
I would say we have a road called Tower. They'll probably renaming it, because we have Bay Air Boulevard and we have 646. There's a Tower Road that falls in between, and there's a bridge that we have to cross the bayou. And to me, that's a must-have. It'll go over the bayou and connect to 517. That's a major road that needs to be done, because when you look at routes for any, like I said, from like a hurricane, we're in gridlock in Santa Fe, and it's hard to get out. All we have is two exits. We have 646 going north, and we have Highway 6 going east and west. And so there's not much to get our citizens around town. So if you have one major road shut down, we're kind of trapped here. And so I would like to see that as an extra route to put in. But it's going to be very expensive to get over that Bayou Bridge.
Got it. Carl, do you have anything else?
Well, I've enjoyed hearing about Santa Fe today, and looks like you're doing a great job for being one of the younger mayors in Galveston County. But as we were talking before we went on the air here, you may be the oldest one here before too long with all the retirements. So anyway, we wish you the best of luck, and I hope if we get the chance to go to Austin this year as BayTran, I hope you will join us and help us promote our areas.
I will definitely be there. You guys let me know. I'm gonna be there already in Austin, fight for funding. What you guys don't know, like our resiliency center, you know, with the tragedy happening with the shooting, our funding runs out in September of next year. And so it's been kind of a fight to keep healing going. So we haven't had a court date yet set for our trial. And so we're the only mass casualty that hasn't had a court date set. We don't have any closure yet. So most cities have had that. They either had full funding for 5 to 10 years on the resiliency side. So I'll be there fighting for funding. But hey, good news for you guys. I can knock on wood on this one. I'm really proud of this. We're 2.5 years into this. We had this mass tragedy. I know it's not part of BayTran, but we've had no suicides related to the tragedy. We're the only shooting that's ever happened that had 0 suicides related to it. I'm very proud of that. So I know we're doing something good, and I'm going to be fighting my fight over there with in legislation to get more funding, at least for a few more years. And I'll be more than happy to work with you guys as well. I think BayTran is very important. I know 99 is very important for us as well, for the state, not even just our county. It's very, very important for us to have that. So I'll be more than happy to go with you guys up there. Awesome.
Okay, well, thanks. And Teresa, you want to close us out?
I do. Thank you for your time, Mayor. We, in this conversation, I mean, we're just happy that Santa Fe has you. You know, you've led through some trying times, and they're not over yet, but obviously you're doing something right because you're moving your community forward. So we look forward to you joining us next year. And we just want to invite everybody back. November 30th, we'll have our Highway 146 update. So join us again then. And until then, we're wishing everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And we will see everybody back after the holidays. Thank you all.
Thank you.